far as we can. We've got a little activity to begin called toss around, hence why everything needs to be put away. Answers to last week's questions, some assignment questions, adding to your arsenal, setting the stage, hints and helps in grading, say what you mean and mean what you say, and questions, and we're through for the day. See how fast it went? So all you need out is a pen or pencil. Everything else put away. So I tell my students, clear off your desk, except for a pen or a pencil. Now, Deanne and I are going to hand out some pieces of paper that we call this little exercise. Let's toss around some ideas. Now, the instructions to this little activity is that we're giving you a piece of paper. On this piece of paper, there is a question. We would like for you to reply to this question in complete sentences or a complete sentence.
There are only 4 questions.
Remember to begin your sentence with a capital letter and end with a period. Also, please use correct spelling. Now then, after you have finished, we want you to wad it up into a ball. Okay? That way we will know everyone is finished with responding to your question. So right now, if you would respond to your question on your sheet of paper.
We're going to be going around the room.
Thank you.
Sure, she will.
They're all different.
So do you write on just the one we have?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's the
right.
one that we're giving you. Anyone else need one?
You get to present, everybody gets one. Put your paper. It's just going to be a statement. Just one thing that you, whatever, answers the question. Doesn't matter. You still have it, right? You can still answer the question.
Remember, as soon as you have finished answering your question in a complete sentence,
Dream it. Dream it, it can be so.
you need to crumple up your paper. That way we know we're ready to move on. One or more sentences, however it takes you to explain what you want to say.
You see Finish and crumple, finish and crumple. Doesn't take long.
Really? Oh, this is stuff I do all the time.
But you're not gonna answer another purple. You're not gonna end up with
Okay.
Make your ball.
finish, crumple it up.
Wow.
Get that anxiety out.
Toss it around.
Yeah. Oh, where do you throw it? To somebody else. You'll it, then you pick up the ones that says to your place.
We're retired, we're retired. We're retired from. Okay, everybody crumple. Everybody has a ball. Your job is to toss the ball. Do not pick up another ball that is the same color as you just wrote on. You're going to write, we're going to do this 3 times. You're going to write on 3 different papers, but they're not going to be the same color. So remember your colors. Toss.
All right, anywhere toss. Yeah, third touch friend.
Here's
Okay, uncrumple it. Raise the new question and write your response. Then crumple it up.
There's one here.
Here we go. Here comes. Woo!
Uncrumple, read, and write.
Like a handwrite on there?
Yes, and
Right there.
answer the question.
Okay.
And respond to theirs, right, answer the question however you feel, expand on what they're saying. Folks, this is a great activity if your kids have been sitting for a while and you need to get them up and moving because they're all falling asleep. You're still having them write, you're still having them think, and it can be any question that you come up with.
Play soft.
Now, as soon as you're finished, wad it up. We'll give you the sign to throw as soon as we see everyone's finished.
I'm not gonna get a blue one. Or the previous.
Okay, crumple, crumple.
We're good.
Gosh.
This is where they target this.
But I'm fine, yeah.
It doesn't hurt, it's like, oh, come on.
Count of 10, we're gonna toss. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go. Make sure it's a color you have not responded to.
I need blue. I need something not orange. They already had three. Sorry. You're right. Oh, I already had one.
Yeah, I'm not sad to give it up.
Okay, we need another.
We need one more.
There's gotta be one somewhere.
Oh, it might be the one I have.
Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, you write on this one. There you go. You write on that one.
You answer the question.
Ooh, what was that line that was down? Where is it?
Don't crumple this time.
You've heard it many times, right?
Yeah.
Going on every day.
Okay, now that everyone's finishing up writing their third response, correct? How can you use this in your classroom?
Say it louder.
Review for a test.
Review for a test, how else?
Questions, when they're afraid to ask questions, they can ask them in in hiding.
In hiding, anonymous, how else?
An icebreaker, you can, something about themselves. They can say a little something, they can kind of guess who they're writing.
Good quick assessment as well, kind of like the exit ticket.
Yeah, exactly. And like Dan mentioned earlier, how many of you ever been in a class when you're losing them? In the afternoon, they're falling asleep, have 6 quick questions. You write down this question, you write down this question, this question, this question. Okay, respond to it. And then you talk. And what have we been doing? We've been writing. And it was painless, unless you got hit in the head with a crumpled piece of paper. But it is writing, because we ask you to do complete sentences, follow the grammar skills, and spelling. Is there anyone looking over your sheets, any insights to any of the questions you'd like to share or think that we need to know as a group?
We are going to take those papers, by the way.
Yeah.
Just,
So if you're noticing the students are not writing incomplete sentences, is that just something that you?
well, as you walk around, you all were writing so fast and you were hiding it. It was pretty funny because everyone had their arm over it like somebody was gonna steal your idea. Come on, I'm gonna let them steal this. But you would go around, some kids are gonna be stumped, and you have to go around and just say,
Right.
well, tell me what do you think about so-and-so, or, you know, whatever. Oh, sentence regarding instruction. I mean, just that kind of thing, hint at it. It's not a I got you activity, it's a, let's just see if we can get it going. And folks, I don't know, some of you probably had experiences as students that you felt like the teacher was after you, you know, it's like, oh, they're gonna ask questions that are way out in left field or whatever. That's not our jobs as teachers. Our teachers are there to teach and to assess what's being learned, not, oh, let's see if we can get them this time. What is that all about? I don't get it.
Coaches are there.
Okay, we'd like for you to pass those in. Any questions about that activity? Several of you had several questions on your exit tickets last week that we want to address today before we move on, so that hopefully we can get that taken care of and your, I like the big stack. Now, this is kind of frightening right here.
Rate those papers.
Okay, flatten them out.
Okay, so several of you had the same questions, so we took those and went from there.
Okay, so there are questions about the exit and the admit tickets. When do I use them? Several people had questions about it. Check for students' understanding by having them summarize. Verify that they can solve a problem or answer a significant question based on the lesson. You can choose something you really want them to know and respond to it. Emphasize essential questions for the day's lesson. Have students ask questions that they have about the lesson. You know, what are you still unsure of? What do you need to know? See if students can apply the content in a new way. You know, the outside world. How can you take this and use it outside the classroom? And all of these are different ways of using your ticket. You can use as an admit ticket. Remember what we did yesterday? You know, what was the main point that you remember about it? What are you still a little fuzzy about? And you can use that as an admit, as a springboard into the next lesson. And just skim one or two really quick, and you can see where most of your kids are real quick. Okay? A verbal exit ticket. Have students line up within the class while you're standing at the door. As they reach the door, students must share an idea or concept they learned with you. Each student must give a different answer. As students stand in line, they can discuss different possible answers before they reach you. You can also do this as they're coming into the classroom. We used to do that. We stood at the door all the time. We're always door.
Shake their hand.
And say, okay, well, what'd you learn last time? Last time we came to class, what do you remember? Okay, you know, what do you remember? What did you have problems with? And get them to talk to you verbally in a complete sentence. And
I saw one of our teachers last year when a student wanted to go to the restroom, that there was some questioning. It was about angles. Can you show us a right angle here? Can you show another right angle, etc., before they let them go to the restroom? And it was just very effective. I mean, the student was engaged
Right.
more so than when he had been in the classroom.
Kind of in with that one, you know, instead of it having to be a verbal one, where maybe you stop the class, make a wheel where they spin that has specific questions that are higher level, or very specific questions like geometry or writing. And they have to spin the wheel, whatever it lands on, if they answer it correctly, all right, go back. If not, Judith, keep working, figure it out. And then they kind of activates a little
But
bit
incomplete
more.
sentences though,
Yeah.
and proper grammar. Grammar is lacking, sorely lacking, even amongst teachers,
Yep.
certainly amongst our
It's very
students.
familiar language.
Well, yeah, I guess as far as we're talking about, integrating math and science, well, I guess, if I'm solving one set of equations and then he's moving to, balancing equations, and he can in the science classroom say, okay, last week you talked about solving equations in math class, how are we gonna use that info to help them solve balancing equations in science? And having them, write on it.
Absolutely. This was like the most often asked question on the exhibit. How often do we have to write? It was like panic. Oh my God.
Writing is an everyday task. Remember, the entire writing process does not necessarily occur every time, but we put pen to paper.
That's writing.
Yeah. Don't be your own worst enemy.
Don't look at it as drudgery, folks, it's really not.
It's an effective means of communication, and it can even be fun. And like, I firmly believe, as an English teacher, I firmly believe you have it over me as an English teacher. I have to do the bleeding on the paper. I'm the bad guy. Y'all are the good guys. Y'all get to do fun things and short little fun things. I don't always get to do that. Whenever we talk about, some long essays and analytical things and all that, we're not fun anymore. Y'all can be fun and do exciting things.
This was interesting too. If used effectively, having your students write will give you a, quote, window into each child's personal learning. And that one of you said that. I took it directly from the exit ticket. And I thought that was a very nice coin of phrase, whoever said that. I didn't have a name, so there you go.
Is there any amount of writing they need to do? Is one sentence sufficient?
And it depends on the task. Depends on the task and how much you need to know. Okay? If one sentence will give you the information you need for that instance, then that's all you need. But if you need them to explain something, or you need them to, for example, if you have a lab experiment and they have to do the lab report, you're going to need them to say more than one sentence. Okay? So it depends on the situation. Yes, ma'am.
Oftentimes, I see students being allowed to write their conclusion with no supporting evidence, and that's not correct in science. And so the idea
I'm
that
hoping.
they would be writing a lot more, they should be writing a lot more just to be correct in science.
I have tried, and I could be wrong, and I will stand corrected if I am wrong. But from my experience and what I could recall on writing conclusions for lab reports, I have an example up here for later, for a few minutes later on that paragraph. And we will correct it as necessary, okay? And I will, it's not a problem. I won't take great offense at it. I'm not a science teacher, but, Pesty had me nailed with that science stuff for years, so I tried to remember.
Pesty is Dr. Pesty, who's on our faculty, who taught with
Deanne.
at MacArthur.
And we were on a project together with Brooks Air Force Base, and we were on that project for almost 20 years. And we traveled the country together, where she did the science part and I did the writing part. And when you are traveling the country and doing whatever, you get to learn lots of things about lots of people, and you learn lots about science and or writing that you never really wanted to know.
Or thought you did.
Okay, your question?
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, in science, they don't expect to have to write like they do in the arts, so I have to be really specific in lab write-up, say, I'll tell them I want 3 complete sentences, and I'll put, here's the question, and in parentheses it'll say 3 sentences, so they know exactly how much they have to write, or else they'll just write 1 sentence.
Right, and that's something that you have to start the first day of school. You can't just decide in November that you're changing up your rules.
Right.
And you just say, you know, writing is an effective means of communication. You're communicating with me about what you know. So just keep that in mind. When I'm grading, I'm going to grade how effective your communication was.
Well,
And so that's where you go.
based on that, giving them a minimum amount, you said start at the beginning and not later, could though you decide to increase the number as the
Certainly.
year progresses?
If you're telling them the parameters at the beginning, I'm all about, remember I said, give them a rubric at the beginning, don't surprise them at the end. Tell them what you expect. They're never going to meet that expectation if you don't tell them what it is, okay? They'll get, oh, well, you know, whatever, that's it. I always try to raise the bar a little bit beyond what I expect them to do, because if you don't, they're never gonna get there.
Okay, how do I pace the class with inclusion and special ed students? You know, obviously some students have language and learning barriers, and writing is in all areas, modifications can be made. Perhaps ask for them 3 sentences instead of 5, or give them a starter sentence to get them started. You know, a word bank, you know, to help them, or maybe, you know, you're gonna do a skeletal paragraph and give them like 2 sentences, you know, to help them out.
You know, you're always modifying for those things. I mean, that's just another thing that you have to modify. That's just one of those things. You're always modifying. And you're modifying for the kids that are not even, quote, in those parameters, but you know they've been missed. Yeah. This child really needs this, so here you go. Here you go. This is what you need.
Okay. Everyone, how do I ask the right questions to get the right paragraph, to get a good paragraph?
Remember last week when we did the paragraph by just the guided questions? But several of you said, well, how do I know I'm asking the right questions? Well, it depends on what you want as the answer, number one. But this is your basic expository paragraph. I mean, basic. If you ask questions in order to get that information, you got it. Okay? And you're gonna have access to this. You don't have to write it. I mean,
We're giving you copies of all the PowerPoints.
you'll get it.